We've got the one, the only, Chalene Johnson in the house. Not Charlene, not Chalene, Chalene Johnson. We're going to talk about online sales, how to sell without being sleazy. How many of us would love to sell without being salesy, without feeling like you've got some stinky commission breath? Like you want to attract people. You want to be able to create some curiosity and conversations around your product or opportunity.
I think that there's so much information out there and so many people want to help others and they believe in what it is they have to offer. They believe in their solution, whatever that is. But yet we are all so paranoid about sales. Like the other day, I was driving home and I saw these two very nicely dressed men in my neighborhood and they had a clipboard. And I thought, I better call my family. Like as if it was like a 911 emergency. I'm like, they're coming. Don't answer the door. There's two men on the street with a clipboard and I know like hide and don't answer the door. And, so it's this strange feeling that we all have when we think we're about to be sold, like you want to run. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because there are so many people that do it the wrong way. And it makes you feel so awkward when you feel like someone's trying to manipulate you, that we then have this preconceived notion that sales is supposed to be manipulative, and it's not.
We always talk about raising curiosity, but many of us raise resistance and we turn people off. And like you said, it's like, we all love to buy. I love to buy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be sold to.
When you think about being around someone, let's just set sales aside for a second. When you are around someone who's really uncomfortable in their own skin, it makes you really uncomfortable. So if you apply that same theory to sales, if we can get really comfortable and stop thinking of it as sales, that's the first step, then you're going to be less awkward. And when you're less awkward, so is everybody else. And it should feel very comfortable. So, I think the first thing I want to say to people isn't probably what you want to hear, but you need to hear it. And that is trust takes time. So there's nothing I'm going to be able to tell you today that you're going to be like, wow, the sales just come flying in tomorrow. It's like anything. Trust takes time. It takes showing up day after day, week after week, year after year, without expectation that the sales are just going to start flying in. And if you can change your perspective around that, you won't be so hard on yourself. You'll be here for the marathon, not the sprint. But you have to remember, a very small percentage of your audience is ready to take the next step, and you have to be there for them when they are ready. But it means showing up day after day, week after week. And anyone who tells you that there is a shortcut to that is probably misleading you. Although there is a longer way to do it. And the longer way to do it is to try too hard and to try to use techniques that don't feel right to you. They don't sit well with you. But there's so much integrity in who you are and how you show up. What you're doing today, the company that you're working with, the products that you offer, there's a very good chance 5 years from now, you won't even be associated with that particular thing, but you will still be you. Your word is all you have. We've all done this where you watch someone on their stories and they're talking about something that you're like, what is this? And it feels like, why are they saying they love that? I can't imagine they do, or it just doesn't feel authentic. And you kind of know they're selling something. You lose credibility. When we think about trust, right? Sales is trust. And there is a formula for trust. Trust is, are you ready for this? You can write this down. It's credibility, your reliability. How reliable are you? How good are you for it? It's your intimacy, meaning like how well do we know you? It's those three things. So it's reliability, it is credibility, and it is intimacy. But it's all divided by self-orientation. Okay, so think about this for a second. When I say self-orientation, what I mean by that is, we look at your credibility, your reliability, your intimacy, and then we say, but how much of all of that is for their benefit, not mine? So if the only time you're sharing or selling, if you will, or talking about your products on your stories or in your social media is when it's something you can sell, then your trust quotient goes way down because it's too self-oriented, if that makes sense. So then you think to yourself, well, so then you're saying I shouldn't sell my product or I shouldn't talk about it. No, you absolutely should. But you have to talk about all things that make life better for you. You have to be a person who I can rely on you, that when you're going to recommend a restaurant, something you found on Amazon, a broadcast like this, whenever you're going to recommend something, I'm like, oh, this, every time she does that, my life, it's a good thing. It works for me. And so there's that reliability, but also the things that this person is sharing, it's not just for them. So I constantly am talking about things on my stories and in my social that make my life better. Therefore, it's very natural for me to also talk about the things that I offer that make my life better. So it never feels like I'm selling. This is just who I am. People always say to me, how often should I sell? Every single freaking day you should be selling, but not in the manipulative kind of way. Selling as in suggesting things that make people's lives better. And when we stop thinking of it as selling and start thinking of it as, I'm just that person. If I'm standing in line behind somebody at the grocery store and I see that they've bought something and I know that there's a better, I just tell them, they haven't asked for my opinion, but I'm like, you have to try this. It's when I hear someone talking about like what to watch on Netflix. I'm like, I've got a show you must watch. Like that's not selling. That's like, I know something you're going to love. That's all. And if you just start getting in the habit of doing that a lot more often, you guys, in social, people, like John said, people love to buy. We love to buy things that aren't just from you. So it's going to feel much more natural if instead of thinking about selling, you start just thinking about, I'm just going to start recommending a lot more. So it's important to think about why people buy, because oftentimes what we start doing is talking about features, because that's important to us. So we're like, it has 17 all natural ingredients that improve gut health. And like, no one cares. That's not one. People do care, but it's not a reason why people buy. I want to go through these so that you can keep these things in mind when you're talking about anything, and not just buying, getting people to take action. The reason why people will do something is because this thing will save them time, or this thing will help them make money. People take action because they want to avoid a pain, or they want to avoid losing out on something. We buy or take action because we want our lives to be better. We want to transform. We want to improve. And we just want to feel good, right? Like that. These are the reasons. On this list, you do not see packaging. On this list, you do not see because of brand colors. On this list, you do not see because of overly edited perfect photos. On this list, you do not see price. You do not see all the things that we worry about and we think about. You don't see all of the like little features that I think we get so caught up in because we love our products, right? But before you start talking about any of those things, when you're recommending anything, screenshot this and remember that this is what makes people take action. But all of that, even if you have all of those things, if you are missing this piece in the relationship, trust, it's not likely going to happen. Sometimes it does. Some of the cold DM contacts that we see so often in social media, this stuff used to work, like, hey girl, love, there's no relationship. I'm not talking about when there's a relationship, but when there's no relationship and you get one of these in your inbox, which I know we've all received, this used to work pretty well. But today people are just that feels like the two guys walking down the street with a clipboard and you're telling your family, lock the doors. Like, this means this person's trying to sell me and they don't know me. So to build trust on Instagram or any social media platform, it's credibility, reliability, intimacy, but it's all divided by self-orientation. And that's the trust factor. And trust does take time. It just does. So I want to break down the steps to making money. And I want to help you reframe the way you're thinking about selling. And I want you to think about it as recommending. So think about sharing an idea, sharing something that you're excited about, and start sharing a lot more than just your products. I mean, don't force it, but if you're excited about something that you bought, something that you found that doesn't relate to your business, you got every day, start sharing those things. Then you want to explain. And when I say explain, think about those 5 things that make people take action. Explain to people. Don't explain the features. Explain, how does it save you time? How does it make you money? How does it transform you? How does it make life easier? How is this going to make you happier? Explain those things. And then invite people to ask you questions. Recommend things and then offer. And the offer isn't like, can I have you sign on the dotted line? The offer is, do you want me to send you the link? That's all. Get in the habit of, instead of giving people the link, get in the habit of offering to share the link versus just saying, click this link. Get in the habit of saying to people, would you like me to send you the link? Now people don't feel like you're forcing it on them. You're saying, raise your hand if you want me to send you the information, the link. And again, for all things, when you talk about something you found on Amazon, rather than saying, if you click this link to go directly to this Amazon product, no, say, hit me up if you want the link. Because now you're building a relationship. You're actually talking to people. And I don't know if you know this, but I have sold more than $4 million worth of trainings just using Instagram stories specifically, without sales. Now we do run Instagram sales. I mean, Instagram advertising, we do, but I can account for more than $4 million in sales just from Instagram stories without selling, by following this methodology. Because I don't want to manipulate anyone. I don't want anyone to buy something that they're not ready for it. They don't understand it. That feels so slimy and gross. And I have so much guilt over that. I can't handle it. So I don't believe in talking anyone into something that they don't need, can't afford, or don't understand. But I want to share with you where the stuff happens in social, so that you understand like where to put your efforts and like where and when to have these conversations. Okay. Let me show you what it looks like on social, because I think most people are trying to use their feed posts to sell. And that's a deadly mistake. What you use your post for, the reels, your feeds, all of those things, this is all part of the journey, but it's in our direct messages where we're offering people a link. It is not in our feed posts. Our feed posts should be used to attract our ideal customer avatar, right? That ideal person that's like your twin flame soulmate potential prospect. Like they so get you. The way you attract them is in your feed post, not in your stories. It's in our stories where we build the relationship, the conversations. It's where we build the trust. And it's in our direct messages that we're actually connecting with people and sharing a link with them. That's what we're offering, to give them a link. Tips for social promotion. Notice I said promotion, not sales. The reason why I said promotion and not sales is because I don't want you to focus on sales. I want you to focus on promoting things, by talking about things, by explaining things, by describing them, by detailing how it saves people time, money, helps make them money, how it helps improve their lives, transform them. Focus on those things. And if we're promoting all of those benefits, then you don't have to sell. Because if you think about it, you're not actually selling on Instagram. Your products most likely aren't in an Instagram store. You've got to convince people, persuade people, encourage people to go off of social. So you're using social to leverage that relationship. But the sale, you're trying to make the sale happen on social. And that's kind of the wrong way to think about this. I want you to think instead about how you can promote how this is helpful for them. And the way to do this is to talk about the benefits. So whatever it is you're talking about, remember, more than just your product, focus on the benefits. Remember, features are like all the little intricacies, like, oh, it's got 16 organic ingredients, or it's interchangeable. Those are features, which are kind of interesting, but not why people buy. Then you've got to tell people, how does this transform them? Share success stories. Show us the before and after. Again, not just of your products. I mean, the other day I was showing people, I have it here. I have it here. This amazingly cool makeup bag that I discovered from that this girl invented on TikTok. It's so freaking awesome. Don't even try to buy it, because I already sold her out. She's sold out for months now, because I flipped out when I think this is it's called the display tray. I wish Nadya could see this. She's going to want one. I'll send her one. You just, with like one little snap, it displays all of your makeup like a tray. And John, you don't even understand, but ladies, you do. Like, you want it all splayed out. And most of us have these like dumb makeup bags where it's like you put everything in there and then you got to like climb through it, and then you pour it all out on the table. It's just a hassle, right? And so I showed people the before and after. I said, this is what I was doing before. I was like digging through my makeup bag, and now look, I can just display it all out, and then I can just go bloop, 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 and it's all closed up. What? Right. So that's what I mean by just show us a transformation, and not just of your product. Show us a transformation of like whatever it is you're talking about. Like show us the before, get in the habit of this stuff. Then it's going to feel so much more natural when you're doing that with your own products. And then talk about the one thing that nobody wants to talk about. If you do this, remember I said there's no shortcuts. There is one shortcut. And I learned this from my training at QVC. So I have been on the air many times at QVC. And before you go on the air at QVC, they make you do their sales training. And so you fly out there a week before you go on TV, and they make you go through this process where they call it over the fence selling. I think that's what they called it, because you're on the air for like maybe 5 minutes. How do you build trust in 5 minutes? That's hard. Like if you're not selling $10,000 per minute, you will not be asked back. So how do you sell $10,000 per minute on a show where there's no long-term relationship? How is there trust? The way they have you fast track trust is by telling the viewer what you don't like about the product or what it won't do for you. But we're so afraid to do this with our own clients, or our own products. But when you do that, it speeds up the trust factor so much. It's insane. So explain, describe, demonstrate, talk about the thing that most people aren't talking about, and do that versus manipulating, and get in the habit of doing that for everything. And I promise you, it's going to be so much easier for you to create sales.
I love that. We do that all the time.
To talk about the objection you're going to get,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Like, so don't be afraid to say, like, people, if you know that people are the second you say the price of something, people are going to be like, I can't afford that. Don't shy away from that. Talk about it. Say, make it obvious to them without shaming. But if it's something you need, you'll find a way, because people will object to price, whether it's a $9 purchase or a $9,000 purchase. I mean, I've worked with tens of thousands of students in our marketing program. So we have a marketing course called the Marketing Impact Academy. And one of the modules teaches you everything about objections of sales. And I will hear from my students, I have a $47 program, and people are just like, I can't afford it right now. And I'll also hear the same thing from someone who has literally a $10,000 mastermind. And they're like, people will tell me they can't afford it. It doesn't matter what the price is. If somebody knows they need it, they will find a way, if they're smart enough to know they need it. So either they haven't figured that out, or maybe you haven't done a great job of demonstrating how it's going to save them time and money. I'm going to walk you through this process right here, a template of how I sell on stories, share on stories. It's a 5-step story template. It starts by me identifying the problem. So here's how you can do this. I will ask a question. And what I'm doing with this question is I'm of all the people who are watching my story, I'm respecting those people who don't have this problem. But I'm also allowing those people who do have the problem to say, oh, that's me. Yes, I have that problem. Do you like to enjoy the occasional cocktail, but you hate the way you feel the next day? If people are like, nope, not a problem. Well, then they're going to skip through the rest of my stories, and that's trust, right? But if people are like, yeah, I have it, then they've just said, what you're about to talk about is my problem. I've helped them identify it. So then the next story that I'm going to create is probably me direct to camera, relating to the problem, explaining how there was a time when I just hated, I would never drink wine, because anytime I drank wine, I would have a massive headache the next day. Like even one glass, I felt like, did somebody roofie me? Like, what is this? Why do I have such a massive hangover? So I'm relating to the problem. Then the next story template or story that you post could just be a photo. It doesn't have to be you. It can be a picture, anything. But you want to ask a question. And this is so important, because we want this to be a conversation, not a monologue, because you want people to feel a part of this. And the way to make this happen is by asking a question, posting a question sticker into your stories. Now, I'm going to address one of your objections. Some of you are going to say, but when I use those, nobody responds. Well, go through your own stories and respond with what you know people are thinking and they're not saying it. Just type that in, because when you share these, we don't necessarily have to see who the responses came from. So you're probably taking the words right out of their head. And sometimes you have to do that until you kind of train your audience that you want them to be part of the conversation. So ask a question. And this is so important when they do start to respond, because their answers tell you everything. Now you know the words to use in your sales copy. Now you know the language to use in your emails. Now you know the language and how they describe the problem. So look at this. This is a real example. When I did this, people said, feel like crap. I kept saying headache. So that was language then I needed to start using when I was talking about this particular type of wine I wanted to talk about. I didn't realize that people were suffering from headaches. So this is this is your audience telling you how they think of the problem. Okay. Then your next story is you talking about the solution.
I'm a biohacker that I follow, and he starts talking about this company that he's discovered that basically goes to little small family-owned vineyards in Europe, and they bring to the United States, they import 100% organic, completely sulfate-free, preservative-free, less than 1 gram of sugar, less than 1 gram of carbohydrates, and they import those wines and champagnes into the United States. And I'm like, where do I sign up? Super affordable. I love it. I have it shipped to me every single month. And I'm not encouraging people to drink, but I'm saying if you are going to have an adult beverage, you should.
Okay. So right there when I said, and I'm not encouraging people to drink, I'm talking about the thing that people don't want to talk about, right? So if I'm talking about wine, I need to say, like, wine is a toxin. Wine is a poison. And when we're putting poisons in our body, I'm not shying away from an objection. I'm actually addressing it. Okay, let me keep playing.
And you shouldn't have to feel like crap the next day. So I'm telling you, game changer, such a difference. If you want the information, just tap the little wine bottle and I'll send you the details.
Okay, so what I did right there is I didn't say click the link, because if I just put a link sticker up there, I don't have any way of knowing if you clicked on it. I don't have any way of knowing if the website was down that way. I have no way of following up. And we know that the mastery is in the follow-up. And here's a big one. I didn't have a conversation with you. If you click, send me the info. Now what you've said is DM me. I'm asking you to have a conversation with me. Whereas what most people are doing, especially in network marketing, is they're just having conversations that they haven't been invited to have. They're talking about things that the person hasn't asked for yet. So when you use an example like this, the person's saying, I want you to talk to me in my DMs about this thing. So use a poll sticker. And then in that poll sticker, all you do is you select the people who did say, yeah, send me the link. And you compose a nice detailed explanation, not a sale, an explanation of what it is, what it isn't. And you can send that to each person. Now I have a conversation, which gives me a thread or a way to track the fact that we actually have a dialogue. Pretty cool, huh? Once you post the poll, how do you know who to send it to? You swipe up and you can see the people who voted yes or people who voted no. And like in this last case, it was people who clicked on the wine bottle. And so everyone who voted yes, I'm going to click on that right there. And all of those people, even if they're private, even if they're not following me, Instagram gives you the opportunity to DM them because of that conversation. So then you just tap on that desired poll choice, you copy and paste the detailed description plus your link if you'd like, and you hit send. It's literally that easy. So here's what that DM looks like. Hey, thanks for the DM. A bottle is only an extra penny when you use this link. The only kicker is, here again, I'm talking about something I don't like. I'm saying the only kicker is you do have to sign up for a monthly membership, but if you don't love it, they do have 100% satisfaction guarantee. It's super simple to cancel. Literally, there's a big difference, no joke. But I'm doing a couple of things. I'm explaining it to them. I'm telling them the thing that I don't like about it, and I'm sharing the link with them. This is something I do every single day. I don't own a wine company, but I love that wine, and it did solve a problem for me, so I'm sharing it. And I used an affiliate link. And there's so many things that once you start getting in the habit of this, you can create a whole another stream of income by every time you fall in love with something. Not every time, but a lot of the times when you fall in love with something, get an affiliate code for it, because that gives people, so anyone could order that wine, but if I didn't share with them my affiliate link, they wouldn't have got an extra bottle for free, right? So it's a win for them. And then I also get an affiliate fee for anytime somebody signs up. It's an amazing opportunity, and it's a win-win. All ships rise. By the way, especially if those of you who are like, I don't know how to get conversations going, I want to show you some examples of how to create a gap in the knowledge. I think what most people are doing is they're trying to be so valuable that they're giving away all the information. So therefore, I don't need to ask any questions. And I haven't given you either, which means you've got to ask me that question. If I tell you everything, if I told you how much this costs and where to go get it, you don't have to ask me any questions. But I've intentionally left a gap so that you have to ask me questions. Create curiosity. The curiosity turns into questions, which means conversations. Conversations is what's required to create conversions. That's how we monetize, by having conversations. That's how we build trust. That's how we are able to have a follow-up. That's how we're able to explain, describe, detail, and figure out if somebody has a need for what it is we offer. If we don't know if there's a need, then we're selling. None of this stuff works if you don't have your social media profile optimized. None of this works. None of this works if you haven't optimized your bio and the content on your feed.
Well, it's amazing too, because sometimes people, they don't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah. Oh, right.
They don't even know what questions to ask. So by you creating the polls and, giving them the alternatives, it's so smart. And again, so simple. And it really is funny because the whole selling thing does come off as salesy, desperate, commission breath. But when you're providing value, you're talking benefits, facts tell, stories sell, right? You're talking about the stories, the results, the transformations. It's just genius because people are naturally going to ask. I can't remember where I first heard this. It might have been Ray Higdon, could have been Bob Hylick, I can't remember. But somebody was talking about raising resistance versus raising curiosity. And they gave this example of when you post on your page, OMG, big shout out for my girl, Sharon. She's been on our products for 2 weeks. She feels amazing, lost 10 pounds, and her clothes are already, she has to go shopping because her clothes are looser on her. And then that's it. But then, what happens, right? People add the hit me up if you want to know what Sharon's using. And all of a sudden it went from, oh, that's interesting, what is it, to, oh, they're probably lying. They're trying to sell it to me.
Right.
So you take out that call to action, and all of a sudden people are like, well, what is Sharon using?
Yeah.
Just little things like that, little tweaks in our language.
Yes. Yeah. And this stuff changes all the time, John. I'm glad you brought up that specific example, because that specific example did work. It was the way to go just a few years ago. But we're really smart consumers. So we start going, oh, I know what this is. Oh, I've seen this. The same way the cold DMing, that was gold when the first person figured that out. But all these things, the consumers, and we are the consumers, we start to go oh, I know what this is. And like the guy with the clipboard, if we can smell that we're about to be sold, we run.